当今世界面临前所未有的挑战，我们历来主张，人类的前途命运应该由世界各国人民来把握和决定。只要共行天下大道，各国就能够和睦相处，合作共赢，携手创造世界的美好未来。
In a rapidly changing global landscape, the dynamics of power are shifting. The current pro-Western international order, almost all major actors have begun to redefine their international roles and responsibilities in successfully responding to global challenges. In the past decades, emerging powers such as China, India, Brazil, and others are asserting themselves in global affairs, including conflict management. While the responses to ongoing shifts in the international order also vary according to their differing expectations and gains from the existing multilateral mechanisms and rules of today's global governance, their increasing influence has been reshaping the global order and its international outcomes. These rising powers bring fresh perspective, resources, and alternative approaches to conflict resolution. The relative increase of rising powers in material power sources and diplomatic leverage in global affairs has also drawn a lot of attention to both their bilateral and multilateral relations with the rest of the world. Interestingly, rising powers' strong attachment to the Westphalian norms of sovereign equality and non-interference in internal affairs and their criticism of the unjust rule-based order also impact the way they conceive and construct their role in sustaining international peace and security. The rising powers, however, are not a homogeneous group of states with similar responses to the international conflicts, and as such, it is not an easy task to holistically assess their conflict management approaches and strategies. The four driving factors can be observed as determining the construction of their conflict management policies: self-interest-based preferences, status-seeking attitudes, cost-oriented normative approach, and region-focused priorities. Self-interest-based preferences reflect that while engaging in a conflict as a third actor aiming to find a peaceful resolution to the crisis, rising powers act in conformity with their national interest-based preferences. For instance, China's mediation in the North Korean nuclear crisis and Russia's Syrian engagement are all closely linked with their material and idea national interests. One of the most important patterns is free riding. It is worth noting that rising powers are generally inclined to act as free riders to traditional powers, even if their involvement in the conflict as a third party might damage their material interests. An example is that Southeast Asian countries would free ride on the US in the management of conflicts it triggered in their home regions. Status-seeking attitudes. Rising powers are generally inclined to achieve higher status and recognition in world politics and thus pursue active foreign policies in multiple fields of global governance, from peacekeeping to climate change. In March 2023, China joined an international sanction against North Korea in a UN Security Council vote, despite the fact that the two countries share one of the closest alliances. The third driving factor is cost-oriented normative approach. Despite their relatively weak institutional power and normative setting, rising powers have a general tendency to calculate costs before taking a new normative initiative, such as the creation of new institutions. If the cost of creating a new institution is high, then rising powers will comply with existing institutions, but if the cost is low, then rising powers will create new institutions. BRICS, for example, has yet to become cooperative organizations like the European Union and NATO, even though it covers all major rising powers. This is not only because of the huge differences among these countries, but also reflect the path dependence of emerging countries on existing international institutions. Lastly, region-focused priorities. The rising powers may seek to protect their national interests, safeguard economic investments, or enhance regional stability. This demonstrates their commitment to homogeneously shaping global affairs. Every emerging power's view of conflict management is influenced by strategic, culture, historical, and cultural linkage to particular parts of the world, as well as its national security and foreign policy concerns. Effective conflict management in a shifting global environment requires an understanding of the dynamics and motivations of rising powers. International actors can work towards a more inclusive and balanced approach to resolving international crises by interacting with rising countries and incorporating their opinions.